So there was a question on the forum about the hacking movements of the Tao and how it doesn't get you killed. 90% of the time it gets you killed. Basically.
But there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
It's because most of the time people don't understand what those hacking movements are. I mean, yes, in the army you probably didn't learn very much and you were just hacking. However, the traditional forms do have some utility. So first we'll demonstrate what the traditional stuff was for and why it's big in hacking.
So yeah, this is the stuff that was taught like to armies. And when I was discussing it on the forum, I talked about how it was actually against spears. So most broadsword forms, like you see in our drunken broadsword form and stuff like that, this is actually built against the spearman. So if he's got a spear, and I'm stuck, let's go over here so you guys can see. And I'm stuck behind it. First of all, I have to be hyper-aggressive. So otherwise I'm going to be perforated. He's just going to be too fast and he's going to stab me all over the place, right? So all of the big hacking movements and covering movements, they start to be this. I'm just looking for a touch. That's it. I just want to touch Jason's spear. That's all. And then you see what the hacks are for. So the hacks always have a lead hand, right? So I'm looking to grab something so that I can hack his hands off.
So there's our first target a lot of times, right? It's closer than it looks. It's not usually chops.
No.
But if you can see, that movement is actually running up the blade to take the front hand.
Which is this. This is these things out of the form, right? So as he and I are fighting, I block, I catch something, boom, boom.
Thumb gun, right?
Right? And then I can just bang and just start hacking them to pieces. So, hyper-aggressive, and the offhand is always grabbing at the spear. So if he's attacking basically in any way, I have my shield. So I'm blocking and I'm just trying to not die. That's it. Doesn't matter what Jace does, I'm just going to try to keep this in a good position. I'm not going to reach out, do stupid things. I'm going to try to keep touching him. So now as I enter, you see I'm looking for this spear with my hand.
Especially if I'm probably going to be coming back.
Yeah, he's going to come back after me, right? So he gives it to me. And now here, you're going to see him move right out of the set. There's this hack that you see in the form, right? That's all soldiering stuff, though. You're not going to wade forward.
Unless the guy's an idiot.
Yeah, if he's a total idiot.
If you can intimidate him, then yeah, that stuff's great. But it has a purpose, right?
Yeah. And sometimes it is just intimidation. Like, from sparring with weapons, you can really scare people with this. Because it's moving fast and it's heavy.
Yeah.
Makes a big whistling sound. It'll hurt to get hit with it, right?
And part of the point of all this is that each weapon has its own attributes, right? And we have to learn and appreciate what they are. That's big and heavy and it looks large visually. You know, so it's intimidating just by its very nature, in a sense. But we have to use what it's got. It's there for a reason. Which brings us to
how martial artists actually use it. So, the drunken broadsword form, from the forum, very soldier-like, right? Very soldier-like. Hacking, slashing, stabbing, blocking. But it's basics. Generally speaking, you're going to end up with two hands on this thing because it has a blunt side.
Yeah, which is my comment in there about it being a pressing sort of thing. I'll trade you. Yeah. So this is a funny shape. This gives you some advantages. It gives you a lot of weight at the end. So if we do chop, we get a lot of power in it, right? But strangely enough, if you run your hand up the blade, something out of a form, but you might stop here. You get something different. So against a heavy weapon, like, well, pretend that's a one down or something. Or, you know, get the meow down. So, one-handed weapon, right? If he hits me hard, there's no way I can stand up to this. I'm going to only have to be able to pass it, right? So it comes, my only options, one-handed, are limited in a sense. However, two-handed, I have a lot of leverage here, more so than if it was just a katana, for example, because I've got this handle. So even against a powerful opponent in a locked-up situation, this becomes a pressing weapon where I can just press it inwards constantly, multi-directionally.
And that is in some, but not very many, broadsword forms.
So we have
that particular movement right there.
We're able to cover all 8 angles just with these two hands, right? So in a sense, yes, we might start long. You know, if I can pass something and get him, I might play that game. However, if we're tight, you know, I'm going to be always pressing and carving inwards on him, right? It's just using this weapon more how it wants to be used in a funny way.
And
I don't know if that makes sense.
In a way, it's a spear.
Yeah.
Like really?
If you look up people fighting in full armor, like full armor, even those long, straight European broadswords, two-handed things, they'll use them like spears. They're trying to press the point into places in the armor, right? And so, in a sense,
because you can't stand away.
Yeah.
Especially if I've got a reach advantage. Like, this is the worst fight in the world for him.
Yeah.
Right? Man's in major trouble here.
And all the things that he said earlier still apply, right? If I can get a hands on that,
and I'm done.
then we're talking, right?
But if I'm not an idiot,
oh yeah,
then these attacks are going to just disappear, right?
Yeah, because he's mobile, right?
It's going to be extremely hard for Jason to touch.
And he's got a lot of leverage. Like, he can knock this aside quite easily.
Yeah.
So I either have to be really strong or I have to be more skilled. So now, once I touch it, even if he's fast, I've got to be able to not fence with him. This is where the hyper-aggression. The mistake most people make is like, I'm a broadsword guy. Right, you know, it's like they're trying to fence with it. It's not a fencing weapon. This is like all or nothing.
Yeah.
Be ready to die, right? So, as we're here, if I can draw anything, I'm just on him immediately.
Exactly.
And I might not get room to slash him, so I have to make power with both hands, right? Stab here. Now I've disabled the front arm, stab him in the guts, yank it out, and then I can give him that if I want, right?
And that's what you see in the broadsword forms when you do stuff like this.
Yeah.
It's the pressing motion, right? That's what it's kind of a code almost, right?
Yeah.
It's like a beginner form that's like, oh, but there's other things going on. So like if we, for instance, do Lan Na Ja together though. So, right?
Yeah.
Are you doing, yeah, okay. So Lan Na Ja. I mean, you can see that's actually a spear. Which makes good sense. That makes a lot more sense. And then you have, like, there's a couple of advanced techniques. So Blue Dragon Stirs the Water is this one. And that's just teaching you different angles, like what Jace was doing with the 8 directions, right? One direction at a time. So you have Blue Dragon Stirs the Water, right? And then you have all of these. What's the name of that one?
The point is mobility, right? You should be able to put this edge or point absolutely anywhere. And think of it, because it's hyper-aggressive. Hyper-aggressive doesn't mean standing up here and chopping him to bits like a side of beef hanging 2 feet away. Hyper-aggressive means I'm going to jump on him and try to frickin' eat him. You know? Hyper-aggressive means this is a close weapon. Part of this hand up here teaches you that your thrusts are coming from this kind of distance. Bang, right? Smash, smash, slash, stab. And if we want to make room, it's because we've already done the damage, right?
Exactly.
We need to understand that this aggressive means close, right? Close is fast, close is powerful. Close is the very antithesis of what the spear guy wants to see. Same against the Jian. Jian's very mobile, very, very surgical, right? But again, he wants distance. Bang! I'll cut my hand to get in there. I'm hyper-aggressive, right? Get it out of the way, stab him, slash him, all that.
That's why a lot of broadsword forms are named Tiger Tail.
Yeah.
Like, what happens if you grab a tiger by the tail? It eats you, jumps on you, and kills you, right? That's the idea, right? You've touched the tiger's tail. It's just going to kill you. That's why it was really good for frontline soldiers, because the very basic idea of this hyper-aggressiveness was simple to teach.
Yeah.
Right?
And
to teach a farmer.
And it works with the psychology of the battlefield, right? Really, it's about, if you don't do this, you're dead, period. So you better do it. So get on them and just do it. Abandon all hope, ye who enter here.
Exactly. So make sure that, let me just give you a couple of those drills again. Let's get out.
Oh, yeah.
For a second. This is a great broadsword.
Yes. It's a great broadsword.
Anyway, so this is that Blue Dragon. Stirs the water.
Do 8 directions,
right?
Which is the next one. Well, we'll start down. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, watch Jason.
Just
otherwise we'll do it at different times.
all 8, right? 8 directions. Down, up, side, side, upward, upward, downward, downward. Bang. Do it with just the sword.
And then do the wrapping exercises. So you've got twines, which are your basics, right? And start doing twining exercises with your hand stuck.
And these are really nice because, again, if you make contact with a spear anywhere, he goes for the leg and you get him here. How do you clear him over your head and attack, right? So these exercises are so nice for that mobility of getting anything that's got contact here to other parts of the body, passing them safely around you, right?
So that's where advanced broadsword, where if you will, kind of a martial arts broadsword, you know, like as opposed to soldier broadsword would take place.
Yeah, and it
Really
really is
close.
the thing.
It's the same thing.
It just has a different psychology, right? If you're the type that likes to not go into danger, then spear or perhaps Jan or Swansea Jan.
Give yourself range.
But if you're brave and can do it, or you like working close, broadsword is good too, right? Everything has its own thing, so there's no best weapon except a spear. That's that.